Hello and welcome to the late stream. This is Jeremy for Massively TV, and I'm going to be taking a look at Runes of Magic again. I usually live stream on Friday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, but yesterday there was a little bit of a snafu and there was an unscheduled maintenance for Runes of Magic, so I'm going to make up for it tonight. If you've read my information on the Massively guide, you'll see that I was going to take a look at Weeping Coast and just give you a little bit of a general overview, show you some of the highlights, and talk a bit about the backstory, and try to just paint a picture of overall what the zone's like. For any of those just coming in for the first time, welcome, and my name's Jeremy, and this is Runes of Magic, a free-to-play MMO that plays a lot like Western-style MMOs. Like I always say, it plays similar to like Warhammer or World of Warcraft and the like. So here we are at the edge of Ravenfell. This is the border between Ravenfell and Weeping Coast. Ravenfell is about roughly level 45 to 50 zone, and you can actually reach it from Silver Spring, which is very near the starting zone. Silver Spring is like level 10 plus, maybe 10 to 20, and you just head east into not Weeping Coast, into Ravenfell, and then head up north. And Weeping Coast was one of the next zones released a long time ago, right after they released Ravenfell. Ravenfell was the first like new zone released since the game started, and then they released Weeping Coast, and I think they actually released Weeping Coast and one or two others together as a group. I think they released Weeping Coast, maybe Savage Land and Ayatollah together. That's when they started introducing a little bit more background story. Oh, that was really loud. Anyone in the chat room, if you hear sounds that are too loud, that like blow out your eardrums or anything, let me know, and I'll go into the game and adjust the sounds. Anyway, the story, they expanded a little bit for the elves, because they had introduced elves as a playable class or playable race. And they have their own interesting like story ideas. They're kind of planting. I always refer to them like plants, like plant seeds, because they're decent story ideas. I personally would like to see them expand on it a little bit more, but they'll probably get around to it eventually. I can see how there's other priorities. The story is kind of like there were two elven kings like 1,000 years ago or so, but there was a prophecy: if there were twins born to the king, then there could be calamity. And reaching back before that is the overall story in the entire game that kind of encompasses all of Taboria, all of the world in Runes of Magic, is the story of thousands of years ago. The ancient kingdoms fell because man got carried away with using runes, and they deformed themselves into demons, and they were subjugating and destroying mankind. So all the races got together and fought back, and somehow created a mysterious thing known as the Void. And there was a great war, and they threw all the demons into the Void. Some of them hid and escaped, but they had later built golems, magical golems, to to track down the you know, the lone demons in hiding, and that's the overall storyline. As far as just the elves are concerned, the elves helped the humans way back then, but what had happened was they had split. The one king took a bunch of the elven forces from the elven homeland and came to the continent of Kandera, and they helped out the humans fighting in the void, and then the other half, they stayed home. The half that came to Kandera, actually, you get to see them in the zone after Weeping Coast. They're, it gets into a little bit more of a story about an ancient sword called Arclight, and how the elves were using Arclight, this magical sword, to create a barrier. But then there was this young elf came along and fell in love with like a female, and he removed Arclight, which broke the seal. So now all the evil is coming back out. Because there was there was a demon, and there was some of his minions that were in hiding in a later zone, which is basically like Ayatollah volcano. All right, anyone? People might still be filtering into the chat. I'm just this is Jeremy. I'm taking a look at Runes of Magic again. I do it every Friday night, but I'm doing a makeup live stream because it didn't work last night. And I'm just taking a look at Weeping Coast, and wanted to show it off and then talk about the highlights of it, and you know, show you some of the instances with it. Well, it's a fairly big zone. What I'm doing right now is I'm basically running across it on the main path to the main town here called Boulderwind Village, and just to give you a look at it. And from there we can hop over. We can take a look at the map. This is probably one of my favorite zones when it was released. I always liked Dragonfang Ridge for its size and varied landscapes, but this one is almost equally varied and as large. And also, when they first released this zone many months ago, there were they did an engine. They kind of worked on their graphical engine, so this marked a point in the evolution of Runes of Magic where they improved the graphics, not only for this zone, but they went back and they touched up some of the graphics in the older zones as well. Demon's asking if there's a way to improve the quality. To improve the video quality, no. Not really. I don't even know what all your options would be. The quality of the video sucks. Well, that might just be the live stream. This is the same settings I always leave it on every week. So I don't really think there's anything I can do on my end. But yeah, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so this is Weeping Coast, which is sort of like a level 50 to 55 zone. We came in down here all the way down at the bottom from Ravenfell, and we went all the way up this path to Boulderwind Village, the name in red there. And as you can see, that was pretty good. That was a pretty good jaunt, and there's still a lot more to go if you kept following that path. Over here on the left is the Naga Outpost. They were just introduced along with the Elven storyline. The Nagas are sort of snake people, and they they attack they're what the elves had been holding back for many, many years. When the young elf fell in love and removed Arclight from the sword from the stone, so to speak, he broke the barrier, and so the trouble's released again. And that's where you'll get into Ayatollah Volcano, and you get to fight the Demon Lord, which, even though the level cap is like up to level 62 now, and Ayatollah, I believe, was set at 55 or 60, he's still really hard to beat, and he's still sort of the main boss of the game, even though they've released more world bosses since then. Basically, this is your hub. You have everything you need, just like in any other zone. You'll have all your crafting resources. Here's the cooking station. Up here's the housemaid. There's a bulletin board, your mailbox, and all that good stuff. Another thing I really liked about this zone was they released buildings that you could go inside of, or at least more than in the older zones. This building right here is actually one of the house contracts you get is called Elegant Hotel, which is basically modeled off of this floor plan, off of this building. I think there's at least one other building that's identical to this inside when you get to Thunderhoof Hills. And also, when they released this zone, it was after they released this zone, but in Chapter 3, one of the things they added were these guys right here. Actually, let me turn on the names so you can see the names of the NPCs. Here, I'll just turn a bunch of this stuff on. Okay, these are the Black Codex guys, and veterans of the game are quite familiar with Black Codex. This is where they introduced the memento system, and it's sort of like an instance dungeon badge system that was implemented to help people get gear, to help reward people for running the dungeons. Because before you had to run the dungeons like ad nauseum for your loot, right? So you split that between all the classes vying for all the different stat drops and loot, and you could end up running them way too many times. So a lot of people would be empty-handed more times than they get what they want. So what they did was introduce the badge system. They call them mementos, and whether you get any loot or whether you beat the last boss or not. Well, there's a couple conditions, but you don't have to beat the last boss. You will get a certain amount of mementos, basically as a prize for participating. And then now there's these NPCs here that sell gear. They sell them with so many mementos. Here's actually resources you can buy. Over here, let me go to the gear. I think it's over here. It's a fairly nice purple quality gear. Here's rings. These are accessories over here. Unyielding Earring of the Sea. And it's part of a set too, so you can get a set bonus. It costs 1,155 gold plus 80 mementos. Heart of the Ocean is a dungeon, which I'll show you here. Let me see if I can show you on the map. It's on the, here, see the icon up here on the right side. This is Heart of the Ocean. This is kind of a crude map of it, but it's an underwater. It was the underwater instance for this zone that they released, and it can actually be tricky. My guild tried to do it just about a week or two ago, and we tried to do it on the fly, and we thought we had some pretty good people set up, and half of us never even had been in it, and we wiped like 3 times and then kind of just gave up. But I think you'll get roughly like 2 or 3 mementos depending on how you do. I think you might be able to get more if you actually clear the entire thing. So that's like for one trip through. So going back to the gear that needs 80 mementos, you can kind of do the math and see how many mementos you might need, which would be a lot. But really, the idea behind this, at least it's my opinion, that the idea behind this was to supplement and to help aid the main course of getting gear. It really, people are and can use it as an alternate form of getting gear. There's actually some events in the world events in the game that people are using that reward mementos. There's a little bit of trouble behind that because, again, if anything's too loud, let me know. Because the world events, people can go AFK and still win the mementos. So you have this problem where people are going AFK and filling up the allotment and not letting in people who really want to play. And they're just leaving their characters AFK and then they're getting the mementos. Yeah, sorry, Demon. You want to see that? My house is just the same as what I showed you. I'll go into it real quick here. Whoops. It's really not very exciting. I don't have it decorated up. See, it's the same layout, the same kind of blueprint. You have the bar there, and then I have a few pieces of furniture. I have a floating flower pot and some chests, and I have a couple pieces of furniture to get the XP and TP bonus. And I have this is my housemaid or housekeeper. Yeah, so that's the memento system that came after they released this zone. And they did add a new world event near the Naga outpost. But let's go. So here we go. There were plenty of quests, I think, when they released this zone to get you all the way through to 55 and into the next zone, which is Savage Lands. I'm a fairly on the slow side of leveling. Actually, well, that's an understatement. I am really, really slow. So usually I do my dailies first and then go about my slow leveling, you know, playing the game at my own pace. So usually my daily quests I ended up doing is usually outweighing how many world quests I get through. So usually by the time I'm leveled up and ready to go into a new zone, I probably still have quests left over. I mean, some people complain that there's not enough quests. And yes, I would agree there's not enough world quests. If you only think about world quests, there's not enough world quests to get the ones who play a lot through. I mean, there's people that are probably playing many hours a day, every day of the week, you know. And if you're playing 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and you can only do 10 daily quests a day, and then the rest is world quests that the person's tackling, then yeah, your world quests are going to far outweigh the amount of daily quests you're getting. So you'll probably run out of world quests before you can be at max level, or at level 55 to move on. Right now I'm heading towards Bunga Lake, which actually they made. Let me see if there's some down here. Yeah, there they are. Those are the Bungas. Sort of dinosaurish. They actually made this into a mount. Let me see if I have it. Bungas. Do I have a Bunga? I don't think I have a Bunga mount. No, I don't see it. But they made it into a mount you can buy and it has armor on it. It's pretty cool. But about the quests, if you're moving at like a nice 50-50 pace time-wise, where you're not playing, how should I say this? Once upon a time, I did play this a lot. I had a lot of free time on my hands. So I did play it for hours a day, like many hours a day, every day. And I still wound up always being satisfied with how many quests there were, because there's so much more to do in this game than just quest. I mean, yeah, I suppose if all you want to do is level, that's cool. That's fine. And there is a lot of quests, I would say, for that, and should be more than enough. But it can get outweighed if that's all you're doing day in, day out. It's questing, like hardcore questing, from one to the other, and then you're only able to fill 10 of the daily quests a day. You'll probably run out of the world quests before you get through a zone, and then you will feel like you're stuck grinding, as they say, the daily quests until you're high enough level to get to the next zone, which opens up more quests, world quests. But me, I'm too busy raising my pet, crafting, decorating my house, talking and dealing with my housekeepers, playing around in the guild castle. I'm too busy. I'm so spread out that I actually end up doing all my daily quests and then goofing around with all the different cool features in the game, and then running out of time to even really do many world quests. This is the, what was this, Bloodfang Clan. This is just one of the areas that you'll be sent to do some quests in. It's actually, this area is kind of tricky for a solo player. If you're well geared, especially if you're mage, this will probably be a cakewalk for you. For me, probably even at the level and gear status I'm at now, it would probably be, I want to be careful and not go into too far, because the mobs are tightly packed and they are kind of strong, and there's like a few elites over there in the distance on the steps or near the steps. So yeah, you could get ganged up on real easy and then get a couple of elites on you. Let me see how tough this guy is. Okay, I think even if the sound's not too loud for you guys, I need to turn the sound down because it's loud in my speakers. Is there role-playing in ROM? Yeah, there's role-playing, and there's actually a couple dedicated guilds that have been going, role-playing guilds that have been going for a while. I'm on the Artemis server, on the United States side, the Artemis, which is one of the busier servers. I think the dedicated role-playing guilds are on a different server. I can't tell you from memory. I don't remember exactly. It's either Rennie or OSHA, but I believe it's on a PvE, not a PvP server. I need to turn down. Oh, this is why the sound effects were way too loud. Let me turn that down a little. Actually, these guys aren't too bad. I'm level 55. I'm a priest, but I have a lot of intelligence, which is a lot of attack power. And I'm a priest rogue, so I have a lot of elites that are attack oriented. I have some damage over time, so that's helping me to kind of play an unusual priest, more of an attack oriented priest. See, as you can see, as we get down in here, the mobs are kind of packed, tightly packed. There's a couple dogs, there's a couple guys, and they walk back and forth, so you definitely want to watch your pulls when you come in here. Wait until some guys are walking far enough out of your aggro range. See, I wasn't even paying attention when I got him aggroed. Yeah, for role players, definitely I would suggest a quick look on the official ROM forum and just do a search for role playing, because they stand out. You should be able to get some hits immediately by doing a search for role playing. There's a couple guilds that advertise regularly. Like I said, it's either Rennie or OSHA is the server. But if that's your main focus, yeah. And they actually had or set up, I haven't seen it myself because I haven't gone in yet. They set up a private channel, because one of the neat options in ROM is to set up as your own private chat channels, and you can even password protect them or not. I think you can just leave it blank, and then you can have your own chat channel. And what they did was they kind of just share. Someone made a chat channel, and they called it, I think, the RP channel or RP. And they basically share it. They share it on the forums. They share it with everybody. Yeah. So they advertise it. They're like, hey, anybody who wants to role play, we're on this server with Rennie or OSHA, and they say, come on in, and if you want to role play with us, awesome, and here's the channel to use. So they give you an alternate channel. Like, that's all role playing all the time. So that's kind of cool. Every time well, I don't know why you would get bored personally. I mean, I imagine there's probably a lot of personal reasons why you might get bored. But speaking in general, I don't know. I've been playing ever since open beta, so that's been over 2 years. And let me move around so I can give you something to look at while I'm talking, answering these questions. So I could say that occasionally I get bored on some nights more than other nights, maybe because I'm tired or something, and so I just quit. But I don't really get totally bored of the game and stop playing. I mean, I've been playing for 2 years, 2+ years. I don't know if I could answer that question for you. Goodless is asking what game this is. This is Runes of Magic, and for you and anybody else just coming into the chat room, I'm Jeremy for Massively, and this is a free-to-play MMO by RuneWaker and published by Frogster America, and well, Frogster International, and it's a free-to-play MMO, and I gotta try to find new ways of saying this because I sound like a broken record. I think it plays a lot like Western-style MMOs, similar to World of Warcraft or Warhammer or Lord of the Rings Online, etc. If you've played World of Warcraft, you would definitely feel at home in this game, but I don't want to make it sound like it's a clone because because I'm kind of a Runes of Magic fanboy, and I really do like this game a lot. And I think it's fairly unique. I think it's got a ton of features that I think some AAA MMORPGs would do well to copy. I don't know. Who is this, JJ? If that's you, JJ. If it's not, I apologize. If it is, then I've just been zinged. The max level right now is 62, but they are going to raise that all the way up to level 70 shortly. They have already started advertising Chapter 4, and actually Chapter 4, they're doing a little strange, a little differently than most MMORPGs. They're using a closed beta server to test out the initial functions of Chapter 4. And they're doing that right now. They actually just opened up Chapter 4, closed beta. I think they initially said closed beta is going to run until the end of April. Busted. And then they're going to put it into open beta. That time might change. You know how companies are with their release dates. I would take it with a grain of salt. I don't think that's written in stone, but they did say to the end of April. And it's going to come in chunks, because that's what Runes of Magic does with a big release. Chapter 2 and 3 both came out in chunks. I'm losing my train of thought here. So I blame JJ. It's his fault. Anyways, like Chapter 3 I was talking about earlier, it came out in chunks, which means they released like a good chunk of features, of new features and content. Like in the first week it came out, and then over the period of I think 3 or 4 weeks, they spread it out. So, do you have a cohort named Jeremy? JL? Jayla? Anyways, yeah, so they're going to do that with this one, but the level cap's going to go all the way up to 70. This is Bunga Lake, which I took way too long getting to. But this was one of the first times they've had underwater mobs. which I had been begging for a long time. I'm sure a lot of other people, long-time players, have been too. Yeah, they have PvP servers and PvE servers. They have a ton of PvP and battleground content. Really, they do. They got. I'll go ahead and cover that. They've got what they call battlefields, which essentially are what you're saying are battlegrounds. That's just the word they use for it, is battlefields. They have quite a few battlefields. If you go back and look at some of my, well, I don't know if they're all there, but go see how far back you can look in the Massively TV live streams. I actually did a live stream on battlefields. There are like half a dozen or so battlefields you can access from any time, any level, from anywhere in the game using a button right here. These are battlefields. There's arenas, 1 vs 1, 3 vs 3, and 6 v 6. And then there's like games. There's a horse race, which is sort of like Mario Kart on horses. There's capture the flags. There's all kinds of cool stuff. And whether you're on PvP or PvE, you can get into the battlefields. There's also the insanely popular Siege War. And I'm going to have to devote... I mean, Siege War is going to take its own article and live stream, I think. Siege War is huge, and it's easily one of the most popular aspects of Runes of Magic right now. Every guild in the game gets a castle, or you can get a castle, which is a huge instant building. It's sort of like guild housing, and it's huge. It's literally a huge castle with its own courtyard, and you can build... There's so much involved with castles, though, in Siege Wars. You can... I mean, you have a courtyard where you can build dozens of... like a dozen or so different types of buildings. And each of those buildings will give you different buffs and advantages when you play the game. Like you can earn speed buffs, and you can build like a forge. You can build a stable. I could join a battlefield right now. Yes. Actually, let's see. I'll go ahead and sign up in the queue. I'll go ahead and... My last live stream really went into detail about battlefields, so I'll just try to cover the essentials of it. Let me go ahead and join up to like 1 vs 1, and let's do 6. Well, let's do all the arenas. All the arenas take place in the same place. They're just... Okay, 6v6 is open. Let's go ahead and enter it. Okay, this is good. We'll give you a quick look at this. Looks like this one's already started. I'm in here with my horse. So I'm just going to join the fray. It only looks like 4 people on our side, even though we entered the 6 vs 6. Wow, someone's strong. Oh yeah, he's a level 62. He just one-shot killed me. He must be really heavily geared. Who was it asking all the questions? I'm a priest rogue. There's a lot of questions going on here, so let me run down a general overview. You can check out my articles on Runes of Magic called Lost Pages of Taboria every Monday on massively.com. I write about all the different features and things you can do in the game and how the game works. You can find a lot of great information there. If you want to, you can also check the ROM forums. Um, there's going to be, it's going to be hard to just kind of start giving you an overview of the entire game in this, what we have 20 minutes left of this live stream. So I'd recommend checking out my article and see what other live streams I did in the past weeks here on Massively TV. You can, at the bottom underneath the video you're looking at, is probably little thumbnails of past episodes, and just scroll through them until you see Runes of Magic and my name, and you can see what date they were and watch them if you want. I think I'm gonna have to try to get out of here. There's this guy in here. He's kind of just one-shotting everybody, but he's doing it very slowly, and so the points are going by very, very slowly, which is making this match last longer than it needs to. See if I can hurt this guy any. Wow, he's hitting me way too hard. It might have been a mistake to come in here. It's not going as quick as I had hoped it would. Let me get back on track. Let's... Yeah, anyways, let me get back to the castles here. I'm losing my train of thought. There are so many things involved with the castles and Siege Wars, which is a huge PvP aspect. So you have basically you have two guilds, and they have their own castle, and they have all these buildings they can build, which give them different buffs, and so, I mean, you have all these different ways of, like, providing help for you or negating what the other side, the opposing guild, is trying to do, and then basically both your castles are thrown into the same instanced area, and then once you're in the instance area, there's all these new aspects. You can build towers. You can become a siege weapon. You can become a catapult or a battering ram, yada yada. And there's crystals that appear everywhere, and you can take these crystals and try to capture them to not only get points, but also to harvest the crystals to quickly help you build more siege weapons during the fight. And you can, and there's a lot of strategy and fighting involved in Siege Wars. And both PvE and PvP servers can get involved in that. One thing I didn't mention was all the battlefields, all the battlefields and optional PvP content is cross-server. So some of these players that I'm fighting with and against could be from different servers. The level range in Battlefields is a little wonky, I believe, right now. I went into greater detail in my other live stream, but basically you have 3 level brackets. Levels 1 through 29 are pitted against each other. Then you have levels 30 through 39, and then level 40 through level cap, which is currently level 62. And that's why there's this level 62 up here, probably laughing away and one-shotting all of us. Because I'm level 55. Well, these guys are level 62, but they're still getting killed. So I'm the odd man out, I guess. I wish you would just He's just dragging this thing out now. It's aggravating me. I wanted to show more of Weeping Coast. Where's he? Basically, I'm trying to get myself killed as fast as possible here, so he'll just, so this will just end. This, I did say before, and I say it again now, I think the level ranges need to be played with more, because he's level 62, I'm 55, but he's obviously well geared enough that he's just killing me in one shot. Maybe what I'll end up doing now is doing another live stream next week on Weeping Coast. I'm not even hurting him. Wow, he's tough. This is the one game that this is my main MMO. I mean, I play other MMOs. I have fun with other MMOs, but of all of them, this is the one I enjoy the most for everything it has. It's sort of like, I mean, think of the games as a box, where some of the games I might enjoy hanging out in only one or two of the corners of the box. This box, I pretty much enjoy hanging out in all four corners. It's compared to any other game I've played so far online. It's the one game that I enjoy the most for everything it is and everything it has. So I don't know if I can say what my one favorite thing is. I'll be covering lots of different things. I cover articles on my column about, and at some live streams about the pet system. It's a huge fun pet system, because it's not like you just go and buy a pet or get a pet. It's an entire game of its own. You can get a pet, but then he has his own stats and attributes and passive skills and active skills. He has his own level. He has his own quality rating. He has his own. You can merge them. You can grow his level, so he'll level up. You need to feed him, of course, but you can raise all of his attributes. There's a lot involved in pets. Housing is really cool. Maybe housing is my most favorite. Housing is sort of like what I call EverQuest Lite. If anybody's ever played EverQuest, you have a lot of control over the housing in EverQuest and EverQuest 2. You don't have quite as much control over the furniture and housing in Runes of Magic here, but you do have a lot. You have a ton of furniture. You can add housekeepers, which can cook for you and give you food buffs and make potions and do all sorts of stuff. Yeah, so there's not really one single favorite feature. when was this game released? Wow, they just celebrated their 2-year anniversary. So they released, I believe it was March 19th or March 18th, 2009, I think. Okay, before we run out of time, let me try to give a little bit more information on this zone. And if you, I'm loving the questions, so keep them coming if you have any more. What we're doing, where we're at now, is we're way over getting near the Naga outpost, which leads to the Savage Land zone, which is level 55 up. And we'll take a shortcut, actually. There's a shortcut behind those buildings. This is where you get to learn and see a little bit about the malevolent forces at work that are starting to try to bleed in, trying to fight their way through into the more peaceful zones. These guys right here are the Naga. These guys are all elites, and they're spread out all over the place here because this is their little fortress. And they are all elites, so they are kind of hard. Kind of take some... There's a world event closer, I believe it's closer towards the tunnel to the next zone, which basically you have to kill a set amount of these Naga, and then there's another wave, and then there's like a third wave, which I believe a boss that comes, and you have to kill them. See, I am a priest, even if I'm a attack priest. I'm still kind of squishy. These guys are when you first get into the zone, depending on how well geared you are, these guys are pretty tough. So when you get up here, you start to see kind of a more distinct level curve in the whole game, in all of Runes of Magic. And it does start around this area, at the borderline between Weeping Coast and Savage Lands, and all the mobs do get quite a bit harder. They might not necessarily get harder as much as they just have more health. It's sort of like they have more stamina, and so mobs will take a little bit longer to kill. It's sort of like an indicator that you need to start maybe gearing better. I suppose negatively or pessimistically you could say it's the game's way of trying to get you to pay money to get better gear and whatever. One of the things these guys give out are dog tags. This is another neat thing that was introduced. Weeping Coast marked a definite big change in Runes of Magic to me, because before Weeping Coast was out, it had a lot of fun stuff, but man, when Weeping Coast came out, or more appropriately, when Savage Lands came out, not Savage Lands, Chapter 3, they released so much content. It was like unbelievable. They released the pet system, they released the housekeeper system, they added in the codex, they added in the memento system, they added in a relationship system. You can get married, you not only can get married, you can have friends. You can have friends, lovers, or you can get married. And you can have up to, I believe you can have up to a total of 20 different relationships total. But some of them, there are limits. You can only get married once, for instance, even though you have a total of 20 relationships you can have. You're not going to have multiple wives or husbands. You can have, let me see, there's close friends, lovers, marriage. Oh, there's an apprentice and master. what zone looks the best. I think that's up to the person. I've heard a lot of people say their favorite looking zone was Aslan, which is like level 20 to it's like level 20 or 25 up. I normally say 25 to 30, but my favorite zone is Dragonfang Ridge, which is like level 35 up. But you know, I have my own reasons for that. I just think it's the land is varied and nicely varied. There's lots of hills. There's just a lot of different stuff to do and see. I like games that have that. I don't like games that are just one mainly flat landscape like this. If the whole zone was like this, just flat, yeah, to me that's not quite as fun. We're running close to being done here, so got a little off track, but that's okay. I didn't show you all of the major points in the game. I was going to head over to Hardskull Clan and check out each one of these little prominent locations to kind of show you what it looked like the Throne of the Water, which is pretty cool. It's like these floating islands with waterfalls coming down off of them. One thing about the heart of the ocean when you get here... No, thankfully you don't. You don't lose half your gear when you get a divorce. There's been countless jokes in the game about that too. About what you lose. Luckily divorce is painless and it's just a click of a button. I wonder how a game would survive or how it would fare if you offered in like an annulment system. You know, that would be quite interesting. I don't think it would go over too well with the majority of players though. Heart of the Ocean might be in this level and it might look like it's for level 55 plus, and kind of in a way it is, but you really have to be well geared. Like a lot of the instances in the other zones, usually unless you're steadily staying well geared from level to level, which means you'd be swapping gear in and out quite often as fast as you'd level. Otherwise, if you're not that geared, you're going to have a very tough time in Heart of the Ocean. You also have to complete a certain amount of quests to be able to even enter Heart of the Ocean, which isn't hard, not really. You just do all the quests. The quests are really good at leading you from one to the other, and you can always open up your map and and you'll see all the question mark or exclamation points and see where all the quests are. And I believe you have to do... It'll take a little while to get up to the quests that you need to be able to finally get in, but you'll probably just be entering and not be ready to go into the instance anyways if you're just starting, so it's not too bad. Alright, well, it's the bottom of the hour, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Next week, I'm not sure what we'll be doing next week, but tune in to massively.com, and whenever Ruby puts out the next MV guide, I'll be on there. And I think I can't even remember right now, but it'll be on the Massively guide, and you can see. And then also, my next article will be Monday on Runes of Magic. Every Monday, it's called Lost Pages of Taboria, Runes of Magic, and there's tons of information on the on massively.com. So tune into that, and also if you're interested, you can mail me at jeremy@massively.com. I am on Twitter at Jeremy_Stratton. That's JEREMY_STRATTON on Twitter. You can hook up with me there. Just say hi. I'll stay in the chat room for a few minutes after I close down. But for now, that's the end of this week's live stream, and I'll be back next week.